Welcome to She Rebel Radio, the podcast for high-performing women leaders who want to unlearn conventional rules, leave prestigious careers, and launch businesses of significance. Each week, She Rebel Radio brings you insights and advice from women entrepreneurs who transformed their prestige prisons into daring entrepreneurial success stories. Now, here is your host, Lulu Minns.
Welcome to episode 64 of She Rebel Radio, 3 Wise Women, Unblock Your Intuition. Welcome, ladies, to episode 64 of She Rebel Radio. It's an honour to be here with you, as always. And it is our last solo show before Christmas. But fear not, I have 2 incredible guests coming up for you prior to Christmas, before we close for the year, before we close for 2020. And what a year it has been. One that we couldn't have predicted this time last year. We have been facing an extended period of uncertainty, but we are going to have a Christmas episode today. It's going to be super fun, super informative, and we are going to be really diving into how you can unblock your intuition. And if you haven't listened to episode 27 of She Rebel Radio, dialing up your intuition and dialing down your instincts, then I highly recommend you listen to that episode after this one. If you have listened to that, then I recommend listening again, because that was recorded last January. It's been one of our most popular shows this past year, and it's so relevant to the pandemic which then unfolded in 2020, because when we're in a period of uncertainty, what happens is we dial up our survival instincts and we can stay in that space. It makes planning and strategy very difficult, and we can miss that we have this incredible gift of intuition with incredible insights, higher wisdom, and an inner voice which can direct us and navigate us. It's like our internal GPS, no matter what chaos and shit show is going on outside of the 4 walls, because so many of us have been stuck behind the 4 walls. And as I said, this year it's been difficult to plan and strategize business. It's been difficult to plan and strategize your life. It's been difficult, let's face it, to plan and strategize our holiday. Okay, so really dialing up that intuitive voice is what we're going to be looking into today. So what we're going to look at, firstly, is uncover the three biggest blocks that I see for women in their businesses to following their intuition. And we've had so many incredible guests on the show this year in 2020 and in 2019. So many of them talk about that, dialing up the inner voice and following your intuition. But what are the reasons why we don't? What are the blocks? So we're going to dive into that before we then look at a real feminine version of the 3 wise men, the nativity play. We're going to change it up and look at 3 wise women and what 3 gifts these 3 wise women are going to bring to you by way of gold, frankincense and myrrh, which are hidden beneath the blocks of intuition. So stay tuned and open the advent calendar that is She Rebel Radio. We're going to have a fun episode and really uncover some insights for you that you can use to support you as we move into 2021, which I really feel is going to be a better year. But we are on the brink of massive change and transformation, evolution. Women are really going to be leading and leading differently, and you need your intuition to support you. That's a fact. So stay tuned. So the 3 biggest blocks that I see to intuition, and I'm going to run through them firstly very quickly, is that when you get, and I want you to maybe bring to the forefront of your mind an intuitive nudge or insight that you've had in 2020. It doesn't matter whether you followed it or not. Maybe not one that you followed straight away, maybe one you've procrastinated on, or maybe one that you're procrastinating on right now. And the 3 blocks that you have, I guarantee, are one of these 3 things. Number 1, it's too big. Number 2, you're not ready. Or number 3, it's too uncertain. Too big, not ready, too uncertain. So the first one being it's too big. And I've been doing some work recently with following on from the Dialing Up Your Intuition podcast episode. I did a live webinar with the founders of the Mumpreneurs Networking Club, and we did a Twitter hour as well before that, and it was really interesting because it's always about going a layer deeper with what people were sharing about the intuitive nudges that they've had and what those intuitive nudges were about and how it supported them. And we're talking big freaking decisions. We're talking about leaving your husband. We're talking about leaving your job after 11 years. That was my experience. We're talking about knowing that you have cancer before a diagnosis. We are talking massive decisions and things that you know before you have the conscious reasoning. You just know you've got to do things. It makes no sense for you to leave your job after 10 years or leave a part of your business or leave your business partner, etc. It makes no sense for you to leave your long-term relationship or your husband. It makes no sense that the doctors are telling you that there is nothing wrong with you, but you simply know that there is. Intuition has no conscious reasoning. It's not responsive to external stimuli. Like, it doesn't need to be that something has happened. It's just that internal wisdom and that knowing. So a block to that knowing is it's just too freaking big. You're not taking action because that, when you take action, it's just too big. It's too scary. And that is a massive block. We know, and you will know, when you ignore the big insight that you have via your intuition, it just gets louder. And then you hit a crisis point that you have to leave the relationship, the business partner. You have to make that big change in your business. You have to leave that job and go all in with your business. You know, you have to go and see another medical practitioner, etc. So, you know, it really does. But I'm just asking you to pause for a second and think about, you know, maybe some intuitive insights that you've had this year that's just felt too big. And know that you're supported by She Rebel Radio, the community, etc. Because, you know, it's a big voice. It's a big voice, and it's scary when there's no rational reasoning of why you're feeling like you need to, you know, throw a hand grenade into your life, into your business. So block number 1 is it's too big. Block number 2 is I'm just not ready, which these are all connected. You know, but I'm not ready. You know, when you have that intuitive insight, you know, you've decided you need to leave the job, you need to leave the business partner or the relationship, you need to go and see another professional. You need to change an aspect of your business. You know, you have the vision, you can feel it, but you're still freaking procrastinating. You're still not taking action. You're still not doing anything. And it's having like a knock-on effect to all the other little things. But a block here is that you're just not ready. You haven't had the intuitive nudge yet. So whilst the picture is clear, you haven't had the nudge to take action, but you can see it as a block and it starts to block other things. And we're going to dive into the gift behind that in a little while, so keep with me. So it's too big, you're not ready, and thirdly, it's too uncertain. So many times have I coached people who've told me they do not know what the vision is, what change they need to make, what shift. They do know. A good coach coaches you to know what you already know. I bring it to the forefront. And, you know, they can come to a call. One of the biggest things when I set intentions with clients is I'm lacking clarity. I need clarity on X. The reality is quite often they're not lacking clarity at all. What they're fearful about is that the picture is so clear. How do I take action on it? Because then that creates a whole load of uncertainty for me, and that creates loads of fear for me. So the picture is clear, there's clarity, but the uncertainty is just too much to bear. As human beings, our conditioning is we like certainty. It makes us feel safe and secure. When we lack certainty, we can feel unsafe and secure. We've seen that with the pandemic. We then start acting out of, you know, bog standard basic survival instincts. Sometimes that's helpful, sometimes it's needed, particularly in frenetic stages, but sometimes it really isn't. So quite often we can stay stuck because there just is not enough certainty for us to act on that intuitive voice. It's too big, I'm not ready, I haven't had the nudge, and it's just too uncertain. And, give me a high five or hands up if you have felt all of those things. Because as I said, when you get an intuitive insight, you're not taking action because of one or possibly all three of those things. But as I promised you, in the spirit of Christmas, behind each of those things, just visioning them as, one of the little doors on your advent calendar. I hope you've started your advent calendars this week, that there is a gift from three wise women behind those doors, between the intuitive blocks of too big, not ready, too uncertain. And, who misses their school nativity plays? I've got a really cute photo actually where I was a little angel looking like butter wouldn't melt. And I don't think I ever played one of the three kings, but I know girls in school now play the three kings or the three wise men. But remembering that story where, they visit baby Jesus with gold, frankincense and myrrh. I'm going to make you laugh today. As I said, it's been a tough year. Let's have some fun. Visualize yourself as baby Jesus. Look, let's just go with this. Let's make it the feminine version of the three wise women. You are baby Jesus, and the three wise women are coming to you with their intuition to your intuition with gold, frankincense and myrrh, related to these three intuitive blocks that you have. And gold, frankincense and myrrh were representative. They had deep, spiritual meaning in terms of, what they meant. And gold represented, it's valuable, right? It comes from the earth, so it's of high value. And that represented our kinship or our relationship to the earth that we live on. So that's the gold. And what I'm going to share with you about gold here, and the lesson of your intuitive block of it being too big, is that if it feels too big, how can you cultivate a relationship with the smaller intuitive decisions? I'm going to say that again. Cultivate a relationship with the smaller intuitive decisions. And I'm connecting that to gold and relationship to the earth, because trust that, we are connected to a bigger picture than ourselves, to be grounded within the earth and all that the earth, Mother Earth, has to teach us, is how can you cultivate a relationship with your smaller intuitive insights? A great example of this is, and I shared on the webinar a few years ago, I've been very committed to my yoga practice for over 5 years. It must have been practicing for about a year, maybe two. And I really didn't want to go to yoga that night. And this is when I was really cultivating and deepening my relationship with intuition. And, and within that as well was looking back to where intuition has supported you before. When I left my job as a lawyer, it was a massively intuitive decision, which got louder. It was definitely the right decision for me. So I'd started with that big leap, but I then had to really cultivate the relationship with the little intuitive voice that was talking to me all the time. So I had yoga that night and I didn't want to go. And I never didn't want to go to yoga. I never don't want to go to yoga, but particularly at that time, it was really new to me. I was having lots of insight. It was making me feel, it was a real part of my healing journey. And I was like, I just don't want to go. I don't want to go. There was that intuitive voice, don't go, don't go, don't go. The angel on my shoulder, which I felt was the devil, which is how I used to be with the gym. Even if I forgot my hairband, when I was at work in the old job, I would decide I wasn't going to the gym that night because I didn't really enjoy it like I do yoga. So I enjoyed yoga. I didn't understand why I had this niggle that I didn't want to go or I shouldn't go. So anyway, I forced myself to go. I pushed through. I forced myself to go. Again, we're very conditioned by society to push through. This is what you should be doing. It's good for you. Blah, blah. I get in the car. I set off. It's dark. It's wet. I wasn't feeling great anyway. And what happens? I sit for 2 hours in traffic. 2 hours. I never get to the yoga class. I'm stuck in Sussex on one of the main roads and I don't get to yoga. Eventually, when I can pull off, I can turn around and go back home. I've missed the class and I sat in the car for 2 hours where I could have been tucked up at home, nurturing myself in a different way. And that was an intuitive voice. So I really started to trust, my intuitive voice on the little decisions and cultivate that relationship. So there's the gold for you today. There's the gold. Cultivate your relationship with intuition with the smaller decisions. Shall I go to yoga or not? Champagne problems, right? What yoga class shall I go to? Cultivate the relationship there, and then you will trust it with the bigger decisions. Number 2, frankincense, which is incense, which is perfume, which is indicative or connected to the divine, to our connection to the divine, to a higher power. Those of you that practice yoga, it's more of the crown chakra, all of that. And this gift for you today, linked to frankincense, is linked with the block of I'm not ready. I haven't had the intuitive nudge. I know the picture, I see it. Why am I not taking action? And I've had that this year, actually, the last couple of months, really frustrating myself. And it was a real inspiration for me to share this episode with you today. I was like, okay, I trust my intuition. I practice what I preach. This is the intuitive voice. It's very loud. The vision is very clear. Why am I not freaking taking action? And it was because I haven't had the intuitive nudge. I'm not ready. So the gift of frankincense, the connection to the divine, is trust in divine timing. Trust, if you entrust your intuition to that level, whilst I'm so clear of action I need to take, I haven't had the nudge in terms of now it's time. Now it's time. And I'm allowing that energy to build of the bigger picture and trusting my intuition at a deeper level that, okay, I know this is what it is. This is what needs to change, but I haven't had the nudge. The proper nudge. So trust in the divine timing. That is behind the door of frankincense, incense, perfume, connection to the divine, connection to a higher picture, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is trust in divine timing. That timing is on your side, and when it's ready to go, it's ready to go. You'll know. Ask for a sign if that works for you. So that is the gift of frankincense from our second wise woman. From our third wise woman, bringing myrrh to the table. Myrrh, I always used to confuse me at school. I don't know about you. I used to wonder what the hell myrrh was. But it's an anointing oil. It can even be an embalming oil. And it can be indicative of death. Those of you that have had your tarot read, freak out the death card. It just means the ending of something and the beginning of something else. That's what death means. So behind this door of the third wise woman, bringing the gift of myrrh, the anointing oil, the embalmment oil, is trust. You can hear trust is coming up a lot here. Trust with every ending, there will be a new beginning. So and this is linked to things feeling uncertain, we can be very reluctant to end something when we don't know what the new beginning is. Put your hands up if that resonates with you. I was very reluctant to leave my job as a lawyer after 11 years when I didn't know what was next. So I created this business that was the wrong thing for me. So I just had something to hold on to. How many people do that in relationships? They want to end the marriage, a long-term relationship. They have to find someone else first before they will even think about ending it. And then usually they create a whole shit show of a mess in that relationship as well. Or we create a whole shit show of a mess in our business and learn it all the bottom end up. But, we have to trust this is our journey. It's all about the journey. And it is. But how many times have we done that? But what if behind this gift of the third wise woman with myrrh is that we just trusted, we ended something and we didn't even know what was next. That thing, the right thing that was next, were coming far quicker. And again, I'm having real lessons with that this year of having to trust that new beginning will come when I've got the guts to end something or somewhere and not really know what's going to come into that space. But you need to create the space for the next thing to come in. And I've, in fact, did this last year, actually. I shut my large Facebook group in my business. A real intuitive nudge. I wasn't even thinking about work and business when I made that decision. It was just like, shut the big group. It's like, why on earth would I do that? There's 800 women in there. I have hand built that group. It has been a good marketing tool, etc. And I did that and focused on my members group where my paying clients were, or those of women that had worked with me previously or were currently working with me, and, you know, just had a members group where people have paid to be in that group. It's a really small, intimate group. And it's exactly what people needed in 2020. Didn't want the big group, wanted the small group where could really share intimately about how, you know, this year was unfolding for them and the support that they needed. So that was definitely right. But I made the decision to shut the big group before I knew what was going to come into its place, and it just unfolded in that way. So that is the real gift of the third wise woman and Myrrh, is when things feel too uncertain, trust that when you end something, a new beginning will always happen. And within that, I just wanted to add something else in, is to find joy in uncertainty. Like, flip the script on that and go, actually, how can I find joy in the fact that I know when I end something has to come in and I don't even know what that is yet? How exciting is that? And I remember having that real feeling when I hosted my first retreat in Marrakesh back in 2017, hearing my clients arrive, hearing that incredible connection that they had with each other, that is just something I could not have predicted back in 2014 when I was stuck in a job that I'd totally fallen out in love with, but I just didn't know how to take that leap because I was too busy trying to create certainty around that decision and what my next was before it was kind of ready to reveal itself, you know, and I couldn't have planned and strategized for that. And that is the gift of intuition. That is the gift of the three wise women sharing with you at Christmas how your intuitive blocks can become gifts for you when you are brave enough to cultivate your relationship with the smaller intuitive decisions. That's the gold. When you trust in the divine timing of things, that's your frankincense. And your myrrh is to trust with every ending, there must be a new beginning. Thank you so much for being here with me at She Rebel Radio today. Thank you so much for your incredible support in 2020 of continuing to listen to She Rebel Radio. As I said, I've got two incredible guests coming up for you before we close out for 2020 and, you know, create something incredible in 2021. If I can support you with the work that you are doing in 2021 in creating your business of significance, in deepening your purpose and potential, then always reach out to me. There's all sorts of ways that I can support you. And thank you for listening to She Rebel Radio. Always feel free to leave us a review if you are an avid listener of the show, or even if you've just listened to today and you've got some great insights from it. It really helps us reach organically, and always share an episode with another like-minded woman and give her a gift today. It is Christmas after all. So big love from me. Have an amazing few weeks and I will see you before Christmas.
Thanks for listening to She Rebel Radio, the podcast for high-performing women leaders who want to unlearn conventional rules, leave prestigious careers and launch businesses of significance. She Rebel Radio is executive produced and hosted by women's advocate and coach Lulu Minns. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. You can find Lulu Minns on Facebook and LinkedIn at Lulu Minns and on Instagram at LuluMinns_biz. Until next week, keep rebelling against the rules and designing success your way.